downstream of Matt Sinking Johnson. One of the things I'm really interested to see with Sam is, if you remember during Hour of Devastation drafts, Sam was basically the Magic player who invented Manolith. Right?
Yeah, Sam
he loved a
playing
five
lots
color.
of colors.
He loved a 5-color deck. I don't know if that is something that's available in this format, but I would guess if it is, we're about to find out.
I hope we find out, and the answer is yes, because
You just want to do that?
I just want to do that.
We've seen Sam do some pretty exciting things in drafts where he's just able to just play all the bombs because he puts such a priority on mana flexibility. So let's see where he goes. So to get things started here, he sees a shock, and that gets quickly shuffled forward. Luminous Bond. There's a Plague Mare, Horizon Scholar, Alpine Moon. So basically, one of those kind of packs where you get like a rare that's more destined for the constructed world than limited. So
this is a surprising pick. I think a lot of people would think that you would take Shock or Luminous Bonds or even Plague Mare in that spot. But Sam takes Horizon Scholar, and this definitely tells us that Sam has a strong preference for blue. And with what I know about the types of decks that Sam likes to play, I imagine blue-white and blue-black are really directly in Sam's wheelhouse in this format.
So it passes on 2 premium removal spells for a 6-drop format, 4/4 flyer that scries 2 when it enters the battlefield. All right, let's see what's next. There's an Electrify, a Take Vengeance. Another one of those not super exciting rares here. And Take Vengeance gets pushed to the front. He's taking note of that Psychic Corrosion. He's like, oh, is this what we're going to do? Ben Stark had some success with a Psychic Corrosion deck in the first draft today.
Yeah, and I mean, it does end the game pretty quickly if you have divinations and things like that to go along with it. It is a card that's risky to take this early on.
Yeah, and he's not going to do that. You see him, but he does take a second pick, Disperse, a card that is actually, when you talk to a lot of players in this room, gone down in value for them over the early stages of this draft format. I talked to a bunch of people like, yeah, no, I thought Disperse was going to be awesome, but it's turned out to only be okay for me. And, I've heard that time and time again. Here you see Skilled Animator and Disperse as the blue cards that get shuffled to the front, but it's really Skilled Animator that stands out alone here for Sam.
Absolutely. Skilled Animator. I mean, for just 3 mana, you get a 5/5 if you're able to have an artifact in play beforehand. And,
so, definitely thinking about some of the artifact synergies available to these blue decks.
Also, he's going to be happy that he has that Disperse in his deck if he has to play against Mark Jacobson, because we watched Mark Jacobson draft what I believe is the best Aura deck I've ever seen in this format.
Oh, wow. When you say we, you mean you. I was talking to some friends. Sorry. Well, there's Divination. There's Gift of Paradise. There's also an Aven Wind Guide in there.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the Aven Wind Mage is so quickly passed over in favor of the Divination. But I do think Divination is better in some decks.
Divination is just the more consistent Colossal Majesty.
Yeah. And Sam, showing off his color preference here, really wanting to cut off blue, make sure that he can establish his place in the draft.
There's a Wall of Mist. There's another Disperse, a card he took with the second pick. There's Colossal Majesty. There's Salvager of Secrets. And these are the cards that he's got shuffled, maybe showing a preference for blue-green here by how quickly he shuffled that Colossal Majesty into contention for his pick. But he's going to stay blue, and he's going to go with that Salvager of Secrets. So Sam, and if we talk about Sam as a 5-color mage, but if you go back to, I think it was it M13, where you were able to draft that mono blue deck, Sam was also a big proponent of that mono blue deck.
You'd have like 3 creatures at the end of the draft.
Yeah, there's another Divination. There's a Take Vengeance. There's an Elvish Rejuvenator. And which one is he going to pick?
So Sam definitely wants to be drafting defensive strategies from the looks of
Yeah,
it.
he's hoping those wall of mists come back around the table.
And I think at this point, now that he has double divination too, psychic corrosion, if that table's back to him, that's something that I imagine Sam is going to want a lot.
Something he'll be interested in. Yeah. All right, there's a Gearsmith Prodigy. There's a Fountain of Renewal. That's a nice. Well, that artifact,
Yeah.
plays with. We talked about that idea of artifact synergies.
Yeah, he has the skilled animator already. He can make this Fountain of Renewal into a 5/5. It's a card that can buy you a lot of time if you're walling up with different things.
And it's also just like essentially what we would think of as an egg. You get to break it to draw a card. Although a little bit more expensive, a little harder, a little thicker shell than most of the eggs we've come to be used to. Well, there's a cancel. There's also a Marauder's Axe in there. And Sam is looking to be pretty controlling here. And you see he takes that cancel.
It's fun watching Sam draft because normally when I watch somebody draft, I can have a very strong idea of what it is they'll be taking out of a pack. But if I was drafting in his seat, my deck would look drastically different than his does right now. And that's one of the reasons why he has so much success in Limited, is because the people around him aren't trying to do what he's trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't have to pay that premium for a card for his deck that you might if you're in a different archetype. There's an Uncomfortable Chill. That's the kind of card Sam has always had a lot of success with.
Yeah, cantrips that have something else that they do. These are the type of cards that can give you that small edge over the course of a game. He's also got a pair of divinations. If the game comes down to who has more cards, Sam is primed for victory here.
Well, there's that Psychic Corrosion. It came around, and he is going to take it. All right, we may be seeing the birth of a mill deck here.
I like every one of the cards he has for a mill deck, by the way. I think that...
I mean, he still needs something that can block.
Oh, yeah, but you can pick up those whenever you feel like it.
All right, well, here's an Explosive Apparatus and a Macabre Waltz. And he's going to go with that Macabre Waltz. He has plans to return some creatures once he gets some.
Yeah. Right now, that Horizon Scholar needs to get back to his head, that one Horizon Scholar.
There's Child of Night, Gearsmith Prodigy, Bog Stomper.
Stomping Bogs.
All right, Sovereign's Bite, Infectious Horror. Nothing of note here. He's going to take that Sovereign's Bite. A Walking Corpse.
And that's just fine. I mean, you will likely want some number of things that cost 2 mana just to trade off with what your opponent is doing.
The actual embodiment of fine. Yeah, it's a 2/2 for 2.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised he didn't take the Child of Night. It's something just to trade off with people early on.
So here we get a look at what he's doing. Mostly blue. He picked up a few black cards late in the pack. Nothing that he's committed to, but you know what? This is looking a lot like he is going to be counting on milling his opponents out. He would love to see a Patient Rebuilding.
Yeah, there's nothing Sam would like more than a Patient Rebuilding here.
Possibly the best mill card ever printed for Limited. It does everything that a mill card does not do. Namely, draw you cards and just keep you going in the game, where normally you have to take a turn off to play this card that's utterly blank, like a Millstone, continues requiring you to pay mana to use it. But, Patient Rebuilding actually finds you all your removal and your bounce and all these other things. But he would not mind seeing a Millstone at some point in this collection of cards here. But really, he's like, the card he's visualizing in his head right now is Patient Rebuilding, I would assume.
Absolutely. And, the thing, Nicol Bolas the Ravager, obviously, he'd also be happy to pick up that one. The thing about Millstone is that you have to put that 2 mana into it every turn.
Yeah.
Just to get what you would get off of Psychic Corrosion simply from drawing a card. And Psychic Corrosion really just gets pretty fast when you have divinations and whatnot. It becomes a win condition that can close the game before your opponent can even start playing their bigger bombs.
I still haven't played with that card yet, and I usually try the mill deck out every format, but I have not had any luck. I've been kind of waiting to find something like a Patient Rebuilding, and my patience has not been rewarded yet.
My very first draft, I first picked a Mystic Archaeologist, got a Patient Rebuilding in pack 2, just milled like everybody
He
out.
would not mind seeing
Easily
a Mystic
trophied.
Archaeologist either.
Yeah.
But that's kind of always true if you're in blue.
But I've also lost in the finals to a Psychic Corrosion deck. So this is, if you get the deck, it is a deck that can 3-0 your draft.
All right, let's see. Oh, well, how about an Arcane Encyclopedia? That seems like a pretty nice way to get the most out of your Psychic Corrosion.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, he has a lot of card draw. And Arcane Encyclopedia is some pretty nice card draw over the course of a long game. But he also just needs inexpensive things to do with all this card draw.
Well, he's considering that Thorn Lieutenant, but in the end, it is the Encyclopedia. He cannot resist a card draw and has a Psychic Corrosion that will reward him for that.
Yeah, because if you just keep drawing cards, you won't have an opportunity to play the good cards that you draw unless you have a bunch of inexpensive cards that you can just throw out willy-nilly because they're going to get replaced by divinations and whatnot.
There's a Totally Lost, a Colossal Dreadmaw, Strangling Spores, good removal spell. There's a Disperse. Oh, how about a Sift?
I mean, clearly what
Is
this
he
deck
he's
needs
just-
is more card draw.
He's just playing one way.
Yeah. I think that Sam may have forgotten that we're playing a game called Magic the Gathering and may think that the goal is to draw as many cards as possible.
That is the game of Magic the Gathering, James.
Yeah. Oh,
It
my
is-
goodness. It took me that long to learn this. I love it.
Also,
I mean,
love
if he
the
picks
art
up
on
more
Sif.
Psychic Corrosions, like these Sifs and Divinations, like they will end the game quickly. Like if he
Yeah.
untaps and casts Sift, that's a turn where he's milled the opponent for 8.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
There's a Snapping Drake. There's a Manolith, the card we talked about earlier. Wow, there are a lot of like kind of null rares in these packs. We've seen 2 Alpine Moons, 2 Amulets.
I like
Yeah.
that.
But you got to also get the sense that the power level at the table might be a little on the low side and let you pull off something like this.
And Gargoyle Sentinel, you know, it has Defender, and I don't think Sam's planning on attacking anybody anyway.
He's got Disperse right up there with it, but and it looked like he was going to pluck the Gargoyle from the back, but did end up taking the Disperse there. So his second copy of that. All right, well, there's more card draw for him if he wants it. A Scholar of Stars. There's also that Gearsmith Guardian, which is just going to almost always be a 5/5 in his deck.
Yeah, he's essentially mono blue. He doesn't really have the blue creatures yet at this point, but I'll assume at some point throughout the draft he's going to pick these up.
Yep, and it is the Gearsmith Guardian. The burly construct.
I'm really excited to see how this comes together. This going to be crazy.
Okay, Aviation Pioneer, another Gearsmith Guardian. And he's going to go with the Pioneer this time.
Yeah, it's basically a
Just
perfect
going to see
card for
something
what
that
he
gets him
wants
on
to
the
do.
board early, lets him not get just run over by a Bogart Brute
Yeah,
or a two-headed zombie or something like that.
Or even just a swarm of 2/1s or 3/1s. Aviation Pioneer is one of the very best cards against the aggressive white X decks. And Sam, right now, it seems like those decks would almost have a bye against him, considering what he's doing here. So picking up a card like the Pioneer is just about perfect for him.
How about a Wall of Mist?
Yeah, and again, that's exactly what the doctor ordered.
What's that blue card in the back there?
I don't know, I can't quite see.
Not a 0-5 defender? Is that what it is?
Oh, it's just a Tolarian Scholar.
Oh, okay. No Academy Journey Mages to Mana Accelerate to in this format with it. Well, there's an Omen Speaker. There's another Salvager of Secrets. And there's another Wall of Mist. A really interesting dilemma here for Sam Black. He's going to take that Salvager of Secrets. It didn't seem like much of a dilemma at all.
I mean, he has a pair of Disperse now, which he can return with that Salvager. That means he can use those Disperses pretty aggressively. The Salvagers, he's a pile of spells. Scrivener has been a good card for as long as, it's been around. It's probably been 20 years now that we've been casting Scrivener.
We've been scrivening.
Yeah.
All right, takes a horse.
Yeah, it cannot be blocked by blue creatures, so he knows there's no way he could ever beat that card.
That card's just going to destroy him. Lightning Mare.
I do not want anybody casting this horse.
And you can't even counter it.
Yeah.
So, wow. Disperse is just flowing around the table now. See a Child of Night as a possible pickup.
Yeah, the number of Disperses you want to play is often,
Is
not
often
quite as high.
Is often different than the number of Disperses Sam Black might want to play.
You have to let me finish my statement. It's often quite low because you have these cards that aren't actually producing card advantage. And as you play out your cards, it produces, a net loss where you end up very far behind. But Sam has so much card draw, that having that disadvantage of spending a card to not deal with a card isn't the worst thing in the world for him.
Yeah, now he goes with Totally Lost over Disperse here. Could have had a fourth copy of Disperse, but instead goes Totally Lost.
And I've been happy with Totally Lost in this format, especially when my decks are lower to the ground, blue-white decks.
Stitcher Supplier is the pick as we wind down this pack. Wow, look at this. Scholar of Stars came back around the table. So did Snapping Drake. And he's going to go with the Scholar of Stars there.
I'm impressed with your ability to have seen which of the two he took.
I've covered a lot of Sam Black drafts.
Yeah. Omniscience. That was definitely what it was.
And then just winding down the last card in the pack. And right now, I think Sam is mono blue. I do not think he has any black cards. Just that second Wall of Mist did not come back around for him. I'm sure he would have liked to have seen that come back around the table with one of those last couple of picks. And we'll get a chance to see him fan through this and show us what's in store.
Now, Sam would love a second copy of Psychic Corrosion.
Yeah.
As far as non-rares go. As far as rares go, Psychic Rebuilding, or Patient Rebuilding, exactly what he's looking for.
The question for me is how highly would he pick a Millstone at this point?
I don't know how much he's got to be using his mana to do something besides cast divinations, right? And Millstone does not affect the board. I'm not sure he would play Millstone. He might play. He would probably play one, but maybe I'm way off here.
I don't know. I'd be interested to talk to Sam and get his take on it after the draft.
Yeah, I mean he's using so much of his time and so many resources to get ahead on cards here with all these divinations, all these sifts. His way to catch up to be more mana efficient than the opponent is the pile of disperses that he has, which he can use on things that cost 4 or 5. 3
disperses, 1 Totally Lost that I've seen. Let's see, of course, something clearly going on at the table. Yeah, Diamond Mare would be spectacular in this deck.
Yeah, that would be an incredible pickup for him.
Just name blue.
Like he would even love an Omen Speaker, and Diamond Mare is like the best Omen Speaker of all time in his deck.
All right, here we see what he's got going on. Curious where he ends up putting those those black cards. 2 Salvager of Secrets. Yeah, this deck looks pretty nice. Not something I've actually seen in my drafts. Oh, don't forget he's also got that Fountain of Renewal.
Yeah, no, the Fountain of Renewal seems excellent in his deck for many reasons. Because of the Skilled Animator, because he's trying to buy time, because he can put it into play early and then use it to draw an extra card once he has the Corrosion in play. The Fountain of Renewal is excellent. Scholar of Stars.
So interestingly, the only black card that is in his main deck as he sorts through right now is Macabre Waltz.
And there aren't a lot of creatures there. But I guess if you're returning, 2 Salvagers, that is a lot of value. So, one of those Salvagers can get back the Macabre Waltz, and the other one can get back whatever you want.
That sounds very JVL-ish to me. That sounds like
I would love to win a game that way. I'm sure that'll happen before the week is out.
You got to look at what's just sort of hanging out at the back of the pack. If he needs to pad things out, if this pack doesn't go well for him, he might have to dig into those cards. But he's got a lot of cards right now. I don't think he'll need to go there.
I was a big Peel from Reality Is It Chronarch fan.
Oh, yeah. Who was it? I'm a big Vidalcan Dismisser fan as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Get a Mark of Eviction on that.
Ooh. All
right, Sam Black. Pack 3. Mono blue right now, splashing for a Macabre Waltz. Did you get a count on how many cards he had there? Was that like 17, 18 cards?
I did not quite get a count on that.
Yeah, it doesn't need... Would love to see some more defensive creatures.
Yeah, some inexpensive walls would be nice. Maybe some ways to...
Some Essence Scatters, do you believe?
Yeah, that would also
There's a
be pretty
Gearsmith
nice.
Guardian. Gets shuffled to the front of the pack. There's Heroic Reinforcements. There's Desecrated Tomb. Wow, just... And again, the rares that we've seen, certainly through this wedge of the table, have just not been the bombs that you are looking for in draft.
Yeah, a vanilla 5/5 and/or 3/5 is not the card you want to be taking with your first pick out of a pack. But
well, we just did talk about the fact that he does need creatures, and he can buy himself a lot of time in the early game with those disperses.
Yeah, that's true. The disperses you do kind of want to save till later, though.
That's what the Salvager of Secrets is for.
Yeah, you use the disperse on something that costs more mana than the disperse. Ideally.
All right, there's a Luminous Bonds. There's a Wind Mage, Vampire Neonate, Mirror Image, Tolarian Scholar, and a Cancel.
Yeah, I think based on the other cards he's taken, I'm guessing Cancel or Luminous Bonds.
Yeah, it is the Cancel. Again, it has lots of ways to bounce things. You talk about that idea of bouncing something much more expensive than the Disperse. Then take a whole other turn to replay it. You get to cancel it if you set up your sequencing correctly.
And you have to leave up that 3 mana instead of casting the 5th Divination you drew.
Yeah.
I like this. I'm also glad that we get to cover this draft because we get to, be here with the viewer as we go down the rabbit hole together.
So there's another Scholar of Stars.
And there was a Millstone there. It's also an Aven Wind Mage, which is good at trading with flyers. Vampire Neonate gets him on the board early.
It's a decent blocker. He's not even looking at that Millstone. So that's the answer to that question, I think. He takes note of it, though. He's like, I know you're there. I see you. Don't worry. Maybe I could squeeze you in for lunch. I can't do dinner, though. Coffee? How about coffee? We could do coffee.
And if he's playing enough swamps, this card is great for him. I guess even if he's not playing enough swamps, because this is a fine play on turn 4 alongside a Divination for his deck. It's a great blocker. It gives him something to do with his mana.
How about an Exclusion Mage?
Yeah, I mean, that's just incredible.
He's looking at that Explosive Apparatus as well as the Exclusion Mage. But again, with 2 cancels, maybe some more counter spells, kind of hanging around the rest of the pack if there's any. And he does take the what we call a Man of War after the card that was first printed in Visions.
Just a very strong uncommon. Now, one of the considerations he had there, the reason he was looking at that explosive apparatus, a significantly weaker card, is because the number of artifacts he has is pretty low right now, and his deck is in some ways an artifacts matter deck.
Let me ask you: is there a way that Enigma Drake could end up making the cut? Is he so wedded to his black card? I guess he is. There's that Gravedigger, but I mean he's got a lot of spells. That Enigma Drake could be pretty sweet in his deck.
Yeah, do you get that the Gravedigger, Gravedig, Salvager of Secrets, that Gravedig spells?
And then Macabre Waltz to get that whole thing started again.
Oh my goodness. I mean, if we get to turn 7, this is going to be the most fun deck to watch of all time. Fun.
Right. Lots of options here. You see Nightmare's Thirst. You see another Scholar of Stars. You see another Divination. But actually, it's the Doom Dissenter that gets in there for him.
Yeah, a great blocker. Again, against those pile of X1s type decks, it's a great way to just jump in front of things twice. It's a card that's inexpensive, so he can get it out of his hand, start casting his card draw spells, or cast it alongside the card draw spells.
I mean,
while he's buying time.
And why would Sam ever invest in an early pick in a Scholar of Stars at this point? Wow, Sky Scanner. That card seems terrific for him as well.
So no additional copy of Psychic Corrosion has proven to be a pretty big problem here for Sam. It's going to be very hard for a deck like his to actually win the game. I think at this point the cards that could conceivably take a game from the opponent are basically Horizon Scholar and the one Psychic Corrosion that he has.
I mean, Sam can dig pretty aggressively down to that card. There's another cancel. It's a Skymarch Bloodletter in the pack too. So he's got 3 cancels right now in his deck. Or potentially in his deck, I should say. They're certainly in his card pool. But not going to be one of those spells that you really worry about being able to, like, well, I have 2 blue. He's going to have plenty of blue.
This deck is crazy, though.
So there's a Skeleton Archer.
Say you put 1,000 random Magic players in his seat at this draft. What percentage of them would have a deck similar to this? I think that number is 0%. Like Sam Black is the only person on the planet who would have gone this route. Oh, that Dissenter is a nice pickup here.
Yeah, the Dissenter, but he also sees that explosive apparatus.
Yeah,
also, he's already shown us he likes that Doom Dissenter. It gives him some early plays onto the board, a little bit of resistance, but he is going to go with the artifact here.
Yeah, and he needs more targets for the Skilled Animator. He does have Scholar of Stars. Skilled Animator, there's a win condition.
Yeah. Well, the Millstone came back around. He could get a second mill effect here, or he could take the Scholar of Stars. I'm really curious to see what he's going to do now.
Yeah, I mean, without another Corrosion, without a Patient or a Building.
So he agreed to see the Millstone for a cup of coffee.
Yes.
We'll see. We'll see if it turns into anything.
I think he will likely play the Millstone.
Yeah,
now.
he cares about artifacts.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to in the very beginning, but the way things have turned out, it seems like this is the type of deck where he's going to need to do that.
Little 1996 magic for Sam Black. Has no interest in an Anticipate. 0. Takes a Scholar of Stars again with his second to last pick. Wow, that was a fascinating draft to watch. You see, Sam Black draft nearly could be mono blue. Probably is going to go blue black with a Vampire DNA and a couple of Doom Dissenters, a Macabre Waltz, but then has just this like incredibly robust late game in terms of his Salvager of Secrets, his cancels. That's the other thing you get to do with Salvager of Secrets, counter something, get set up to a position where you have 8 mana and you're both kind of playing off the top of the deck, and then you're like Salvager of Secrets back a cancel, and your opponent's like,
You kind of like put them in a lock.
Yeah, soft lock. All right, so, I can't wait to see how that deck plays out. I imagine we'll be getting him into the feature match area. Don't go anywhere. We're going to watch this draft pod as they try to fight their way into the top 8 here at Grand Prix Sacramento, coming back right after this.